Welcome to episode 84 of the Backlot 605 podcast. I am one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman. Joined with me is my co-host, Mr. Brian, the Brian Mensing.
I'm now the Brian Mensing.
Brian, the Brian Mensing. Yes.
I'm a presence. I will take it.
Yes, you are. And we're joined by another presence. He is Mr. Corey Jacobson from Somewhat Random Movie Collection. What's up, Corey?
Hello.
Corey.
The people listening can't see you wave.
We see you. I see you. Corey, we have missed you, my friend. We have missed you on this show.
I miss you guys too.
It's been way too long.
I know, and it's kind of rough since we can't go to hang out in places real big. And of course, the last couple times that you guys have done movies, I have been working, so that's the thing.
Isn't life just crazy?
Very much so.
It's so crazy. I can't believe it. What?
It's just so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when is the last time we had you on was the live show?
Yep.
In January. That feels like 7 years ago.
And, considering everything that's happened, we've had at least 7 years worth of stuff going on. So,
There's been a lot going on in that 6 months since then. Yeah,
I mean, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but you know.
Mm-hmm. One or two things have probably happened,
Yeah, it's not too much to mention, but whatever.
Hey, you know what? We got some fun stuff to mention, though, because you know what? We all like talking movies, so let's talk about some movies, because
we have movies to talk about.
We got lots of movies to talk about today. Actually, not really. There's not a whole lot of movie news, but the main topic for the show this week is the movie Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which Corey, this was the movie you have selected for us as our second film on our Pride miniseries here for the month of June, and
yes,
I gotta tell one of the reasons I asked you on is because I know you watch a lot of cinema that most other people don't watch, and that's why I always want you on to help us out. I was looking for help. I'm trying to. This in the best way possible, my friend, because I knew your pick would be completely different than anyone else I would ask to be on. And I am so happy you picked this movie.
Yeah. And the thing is I was actually trying to search for something, and since it just came out through Criterion, I thought, oh, well, it has a little bit more of a mainstream push now. Not a lot, but yeah.
I'm glad we get to talk about it, though, because I had never heard of this until you mentioned it to us, that this was going to be the movie, and I went in completely blind. I knew nothing about this movie.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that a little later on in the show. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Sure, yeah.
But let's talk about some of the movie news that we got here. The first thing, we have to talk about this, and I know this is going to get Brian all excited like a little schoolgirl.
Uh-oh, what news did I not pay attention to this week?
Oh, you paid attention to this news. It is the Bill and Ted 3 poster, and we get our full trailer for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So Bill and Ted 3 coming later this year. It'll be
better yet, because of other movies getting moved around, it's actually coming out a week early.
It moved up, that is right. So we're getting Bill and Ted even earlier than we thought. The world needs this movie right now. The world needs a little Bill and Ted. So what did you guys both have a chance to watch the trailer?
Yeah.
I know you did.
I've seen it a couple of times.
Okay. Corey, I'll start with you. What did you think of this trailer?
I mean, there's not a heck of a lot to it, but it does, I don't know, it does kind of look like it leans a little bit more on the Bogus Journey thing, which I'm perfectly fine with. I know a lot of people differ in opinions as to what their favorite Bill and Ted movie is, but mine
Bogus
is
Journey is unappreciated.
It is that Bogus Journey for me is the type of movie that every sequel should be. You had a popular film, so take all the money that you can get and make it real weird. And that's what they did. And it looks like this has a lot of elements from that. Maybe not quite as bizarre, and it will be strange not having George Carlin, but I trust that they've taken long enough. They actually have a good idea of what they're doing.
Right. And to piggyback off the George Carlin thing, being that he's not going to be in it, obviously.
Yeah.
But to have, I believe it's his daughter is going to be in the movie. But the other thing too was like, okay, if you are going to bring back other people who made the previous movies what they were, the fact that they got William Sadler to come back as Death, kind of again playing off of Bogus Journey, like he was one of the best parts about Bogus Journey, and I'm like, well, unfortunately we can't have George Carlin, but you best be giving us Death.
Well, exactly. And I don't know, that was when I heard that, and you know, it's not always certain that they're going to even continue 100% continuity with the other movies. So I was kind of, when I heard that they were having Death, William Sadler was going to play it, that got me super excited. They have the same writing team back. Kind of getting, there is one thing specifically in the first one, and it kind of pertains to a topic that we're talking about now. There is a usage of a certain F word in the first movie, kind of excessively, and I hope they kind of make a joke about how that doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Death is the best part of this trailer. I think his little 3 seconds that he's in the trailer is great. I'm a little worried about this movie.
I think with the
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say with the trailer, I think that there's enough of people like myself and Corey here, and probably you, that have been aching for this movie for the last 25 years, to the point where I think they gave us enough in the trailer to basically set up the premise of they haven't quite got there, set up the family aspect of it with the kids and everything like that, and then leaving the rest out on purpose,
I'm gonna piggyback off that with the family part, because they don't show the kids in this trailer, and I think they're going to be a big part of this movie, and I think that's kind of what I'm waiting on, because I want to see how they interact with their kids.
And you know, and I'm completely okay just leaving it like this. Don't give me any more. I don't want to watch anymore because I want to be surprised when I get there.
I have my trepidations for this, because it's been, like you said, 20 plus years since we've had Bogus Journey. Keanu seems a little stiff with his line delivery, which is that's kind of a Keanu thing, but he needs to, maybe that's part of the movie. They need to find some more of their mojo that they had in the 80s back. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see how they interact with their kids, especially having Samara Weaving in this movie. Like, I think she's going to add a fun dynamic to the group.
Keanu didn't know what to do once they cut off his beard.
Felt like a naked baby.
He should have kept the beard, is all I'm saying. He should have kept the beard.
All right. So, yeah, that's Bill and Ted 3 coming later this summer. Let's talk about, we got some Oscar news. This just dropped today, some of this news that we got here.
Mind you, when this drops, it'll be a couple days ago.
It'll be a couple days ago. The Oscars has delayed the ceremony by 8 weeks. It was originally scheduled for February 28th of 2021. Has now moved to April 25th of the same year. But they have also announced that eligibility for the Oscars is now pushed back to that February 28th date. So movies that are released up until then will be eligible for the Oscars that year. So kind of making up some ground that we've lost here in the last few months there.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be enough though.
There is also one other thing with the Oscars. They announced that the Best Picture will now be a set 10 nominees, not a rotating 5 to 10, whatever they want to choose. It's a set 10. So I think Sonic is going to be nominated for Best Picture this year. I think that's something.
One could hope.
At this point right now, do they even have 10 films even? Like, this is like the year not to make that change, because at this point you're like, all right, we've got 12 films to choose from, so 2 of them are going to be the ones that get left out.
Well, so let's say theaters are going to be open by the 1st of August is what we're looking at right now, end of January or end of July, 1st of August. There is plenty of time to make up room for the Oscar movies later in the year. West Side Story will still be coming out this fall, which I think will be a big contender. I think,
and the majority of Oscar stuff doesn't come out until
The end of the year
September
anyway.
through December anyway.
Yep.
So
And most of
that's
those
the
movies
thing.
are in limited theaters already. So
yeah,
what do you guys feel about it pushing back to February, though? I think that's the big story here.
It's gonna be weird that it's pushed back, but I mean, at this point right now, what could they have done
yeah.
other than cancel it altogether?
I think I would have just left it because, like Corey said, most of the Oscar movies come out in the fall. We have the fall yet ahead of us, and then this then changes the Oscars for next year, because then movies that came out in January, February are not eligible for the next year's Oscars. So it's just going to have a domino effect from here on out. So I kind of wish they kept it. I get why they moved it, because we've lost so much ground in the last couple months. They had to do something, and I think maybe this was just what they felt is the best possible way to
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because in theory, if they would have done this, a few years back, it would have been great, because then you would see more movies from the beginning of the year instead of just having everything at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, right now I'm assuming that movie studios probably, because that's a good marketing ploy for them, movie studios probably kind of force their hand a little bit, saying, well, and then of course, it's not a guarantee that a lot of stuff that I guarantee you they're probably pushing Tenet really hard through Warner Brothers, and I don't know. I think they just needed. I've always thought that they needed to wait and do it every 5 to 10 years, but that is just a theory that I've had. Actually, see the movies that have some staying power and then vote on it, instead of, oh, this came out a month and a half ago. Yep, best movie of the year.
Yep.
And then 5 years down the road, nobody remembers. And I'm not saying that there's a movie like that has won recently, Green Book, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't have any examples, Green Book, but
hey, you know what I see here?
What?
I went to go double check the date because it came up earlier in chat before, whatever. This gives Mortal Kombat a great contention, because it'll be cut off just before that February 28th date. We'll have Mortal Kombat in contention for the Oscars,
and we can get Guns Akimbo, Birds of Prey, the aforementioned Sonic the Hedgehog, which I still haven't seen yet, but I do want to. I've heard it's fun.
How of all people in this chat is the one that has not seen it is you?
I've not seen it either.
Both of you, go.
I know. I want to. I'm excited to finally watch it.
I do really want to see it, but every single time it's very weird. But when I go buy something, if it's $20, I can rationalize that. When it's $25, that's when it starts getting into more boutique in a way, label pricing, and it's like, well, I could buy a good couple of Arrow movies with that. I'm not buying Sonic the Hedgehog for $25. When it goes down $5, sure, boy, howdy, I will. But for that extra $5. No, sorry, Bob.
You and I both say that when you and I both know that we were buying DVDs when they first came out at like $25 a pop, and their special features were the trailer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was the reason that a good percentage of the movies that I owned were New Line ones, because the New Line ones, you got quantity for your money. The Dark City and Blade. Blade was one of the few movies that I actually did own at the time.
I still own that copy.
And also, I need to rationalize in my head, dude, I was paying $60 for movies on Laserdisc. And movies that absolutely had no special features. I remember spending $40 on Clerks, and thankfully that one was loaded. But Mallrats was the same price, and it wasn't until the last 10 years that even got a special edition. So, whatever. Oscars. Who needs them?
They're a thing.
Who needs them?
Who needs them? Yeah, I mean,
Parasite did, because Parasite is an awesome movie, and that actually got a lot more people to see it because of it.
Agreed.
Yes.
I would agree to that.
Once in a while, the Oscars gets it right. Hopefully they get it right this year. I'm hoping this little pushback just helps them even everything out and where they need it to be. So let's move to what we got coming soon. So coming soon this week, you can go check out our coming soon article each and every Friday, done by our very own Derek Vierink. He does an awesome job covering so much stuff. I can't imagine all the research he puts into it. So, but this is what we got coming soon this week. First up is You Should Have Left. This is the new Blumhouse movie. Kevin Bacon, Amanda Seyfried.
Okay.
Coming straight to VOD. Originally was planned for a theatrical release. Got pushed to VOD here June 19th. So that'll be coming out this weekend. Have either of you guys had a chance to watch this trailer that just dropped? And
no.
You guys have any interest?
I have seen that it exists, and I haven't actually watched it yet.
I just watched the trailer yesterday. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a typical Blumhouse movie, but it at least has the Kevin Bacon factor.
It has the bacon?
It has the bacon.
Kevin Bacon is always a nice ingredient in almost any, especially new Kevin Bacon, when he stopped being the heartthrob and is actually an actor. I mean, when you get right down to it, he is the most entertaining part out of Wild Things, you know what I mean. But he is very entertaining in that. He's really good in The Woodsman, a movie that I absolutely despise called In the Cut with Meg Ryan. He is in a completely different movie, but he is having fun with it. So I'm always down for Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
So I will probably see that because of Kevin Bacon.
I think it looks like a lot of fun. Again, I'm not paying $20 to rent this though.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. I'm waiting for when it drops a little lower for VOD. I have no problem watching it at home. I'm not paying $20 to watch it at home.
The part that's funny is that you say that, and I've been absolutely looking forward to the Judd Apatow, Pete Davidson movie.
Oh yeah.
And, it dropped on Friday, and it's like rent for $20. I'm like, I can wait. I really want to see it too.
I can maybe pull the trigger if you can buy it for $25 at that point. I can maybe pull the trigger. I'm not renting it for $20 and not.
No. Like I'm over here by myself, and I can't justify. If I had like 2 or 3 people here that was watching it, whatnot, and you kind of divvy out like the price point, that's perfect. But I can't justify paying $20 to rent something for myself.
We're just gonna do a Kevin Bacon watch party for You Should Have Left then this weekend. Let's do it.
There you go.
Yeah. Next up, we got. I don't even know how you would pronounce this one. It's just 7,500. I'm guessing that's what it's called. It's the new Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie coming to Amazon June 19th. Oh. His first movie since Snowden a few years ago. That was a while ago.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, he plays a pilot that's his plane is getting taken by a terrorist group. So Amazon Prime original movie, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I'll watch
Does
anything
he
with
just
him
star
in
in
it.
that, or does he direct that also?
I think he's just starring in it. I don't have.
Okay.
I'll let
I'm-
Brian pull
I'm
up the
working on it.
IMDb.
Because I love Don John, and I think that was a very good directorial debut. So I'm kind of looking forward to maybe him trying that again. But
Don John was that one threw me for a little bit. I enjoyed it, but it was definitely not what I expected out of it.
Oh, I love
No.
that movie. Yeah, again, I just checked out The Fast of Night, which just dropped on Amazon last week, which is fantastic. So, I mean, maybe I'll keep going with the Amazon train this weekend and watch the new GGL.
So no, it is not directed by him.
Okay.
The guy that directed it literally this is his first feature.
Oh,
A gentleman
okay.
by the name of Patrick Volrath.
Okay.
Yeah, and the next thing he's got here is called Future Frames at KVIF, KVIFF.
Okay.
But yeah, no, everything is all short films except for this one.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next that we got up here is the Wasp Network, Netflix original about 5 Cuban spies who are then captured during the 1990s. I know nothing about it. Seems like Netflix's movie of the week, and that's kind of usually how it goes. This last one, I'm excited to watch this one finally. Is Scare Package, dropping on Shudder June 18th.
I saw that this past weekend.
Did you watch the last drive-in? Yeah.
Yep. It was very entertaining.
I've heard it's great. Yeah.
It is. I belong to a Facebook group that is also a Joe Bob Briggs group, and it seems like every couple of hours there's where's Scare Package? They announced that it wasn't actually, their streaming version wasn't going to be available until this next week, but people don't pay attention.
Yeah.
So
it was either you watched it live or you wait till this Thursday.
Right, exactly.
And when I watch it, I think I'm just going to watch the Joe Bob last drive-in version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a horror anthology dropping on Shudder June 18th. Yeah, that's what we got coming soon though. So go check out the full article coming soon on backlot605.com. But let's move on to our main topic for the week. This movie is Hedwig and the Angry Inch from 2001, written, directed, and starring John Cameron Mitchell. Corey, this was your movie that you decided to present to us for this episode. I'm going to throw it to you. Can you explain why you picked this movie and what the plot of the movie is? Okay.
The reason that I picked this movie is back in 2001. This was a movie that, going back to talking about DVDs and such, this is a movie back when IFC was actually big and the Sundance Channel was actually big, you'd see trailers on there for movies, and I thought this looked interesting, but it was kind of a blind pickup. I hadn't seen the show. I still haven't actually seen the show, which is a pity, but whatever. And I just ended up randomly renting that. And oh boy, I was not expecting what I was going to see. I mean, not in like a Serbian film type of way. It's not a shocking film or anything.
No, but if you go to rent this and you pick it up off the shelf, you're like, hey, you know what? This looks good. If you went into this completely blind, what on earth was it that made you go, I'm going to take this home and watch this?
Because I would walk around the shelf. This is, right before I started working at Hollywood Video. And I would just walk around and pick random things up that I thought looked good. It's how I initially saw Ichi the Killer. It's how I saw Party Monster. You just randomly, it's how I saw Suicide Circle / Suicide Club. Just randomly picking up things. Oh, this looks interesting. Come along with me. And that was one of those movies, and it became my favorite movie of that year. And it is all about a boy that is born in Germany before the wall goes up, and he is a very feminine boy, and he and a sergeant fall in love, but in order to get a marriage license, Hedwig, Hansel, I think
Hansel.
the Hansel is the
Yes.
name, has to agree to removing his penis so that it can be a marriage between a man and a woman. Well, unfortunately, it goes a little bit awry, and there's still a little bit left down there. And she ends up in America in a trailer park and performing music and babysitting. And lots of things unfold. A good percentage of the film, from what I understand, the stage play is mainly just one of the show sequences, but a little bit more of a theatrical experience instead of having, all the different cutaways. A lot of stuff was shown on a screen behind, along with animations and such. And this actually turns that into a journey across the country to follow a musician who became very popular, who was her former boyfriend. Kind of.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
It's really weird trying to describe the plot
Yeah.
of a movie that really is, it's like that old State sketch of this gentleman is about to reach the world record for talking about the movie Paris, Texas. It's kind of like describing Paris, Texas to a person. It really isn't a plot-heavy movie. It just sort of goes along and inserts songs, and it kind of weaves back on itself.
And through the musical, so it's primarily told through the music, and the musical numbers tell the story, and it does have in between the songs the cutaways to what happened, and what happened in Hedwig's life. And yeah, man, I love this movie, Corey. I had so much fun watching this movie. Yeah. So what I love, I love musicals. The music numbers in this movie are incredible. I love a good rock opera. This is a very great rock opera.
Mm-hmm.
It's also it's a very funny movie. But it is also a very dark and depressing movie at the same time.
I was going to say, for me, it was it's like if you took a rock opera and a dark comedy and put it together.
Exactly. And
you want to laugh at some of the scenes and cry at the same time.
Well, it's kind of like, I think for me, the entire, and this is, I love the last song too, but Wig in a Box is my favorite song, and it kind of sums up the tone of the film. It is uproarious when she's talking about how she puts the wig on her head and she is Miss Farrah Fawcett from TV, or Miss Midwest Checkout Queen. And then it goes back into, and then I take off my makeup and I put myself to bed. And it's like, anybody that's been an actor, that you get this weird high of, I know who I am when I'm on stage. I know what I represent. And then the moment that it's done, you kind of just go back to who you are. And it's a weird, odd feeling. And just the sense, the movie has that, this sense of euphoria, and then it brings you back down to earth again. And you get a sense of euphoria, and then it brings you back down again.
Well, even in that song, in the third verse of the song, Hedwig's like, all right, everybody sing along. And the lyrics come up on the bottom.
Yep.
And it's like, you're supposed to be happy and singing along, and then you take off the wig and it's back to, we're back to a depressing life. Yeah, that's what I love this. There's so many different things that I loved about this movie. That song right there is one of my favorites. There's just, I don't know, Brian, what did you think of this movie? Because for you and I, this is the first time we had ever watched it. I believe we had both never heard of it.
I had heard of it. It popped up just because I'm familiar that it was a musical as well. But at the same time too, it's not one that popped up on my, oh, I need to go out and watch this. Or just for whatever reason, it's just it that wasn't the case.
Right.
I did get into the first, maybe even probably not even 10 minutes, and I did have that thought across my head, go, what did Corey get me into? But at the same time, too, I'm like, this doesn't shock me either. But that's just mainly because I think the last rock opera I sat down and watched probably was Repo.
Oh yeah,
Repo the genetic opera. That's probably the last one I've seen, and that's been years upon years.
I just watched that recently too, as you both are very aware of. Yeah, that movie's fantastic. So, The Devil's Carnival is also great. But
yes,
I really love rock operas. There is one that, because of being a theater kid in the 90s, I can't watch in the same way again. And I know my wife disagrees with me because she absolutely adores it. I can't watch Rent because of the fact that I heard all of those songs over and over and over again in the 90s, and they just don't resonate with me anymore. But
next time I see you, I'm playing that soundtrack.
Oh, that's okay. I think I am far enough removed from it that I haven't watched the movie in a while. I watched a version of it on YouTube, but not too long ago. But yeah, I really like the rock opera. It's fun.
My biggest takeaway from this movie is, if you're giving this recommendation to somebody, regardless of who they are or their background, this is definitely one of those ones that you have to sit down and watch, because it would be like that piece of art. You might get through that entire thing and not understand what you watched, but you can appreciate the work and the idea and the makeup, the work, and everything that went behind it.
Right. Well, and to me, this movie has always, yes, it does have the LGBTQ veneer of it. It does, but it is also a film that I think speaks to anybody that kind of feels uncomfortable being themselves. And finally, when you get to the end, there is that push at the end where Hedwig is finally comfortable being who they are. And I think that it is not a literal rebirth, but they're naked at the end.
They're acceptance of who they are.
Right. And it is no longer any sort of makeup or anything like that. It is just who they are. And yeah, I think this works for pretty much anybody. I mean, unless you're just hardcore, you can't handle the themes. But even then,
You're not listening to this podcast on Hedwig and the Angry Inch in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah, so anyone listening to this would relate to this movie. Let's talk about some of the themes in this movie, because the reason we're doing this is because of it's Pride Month, and we should talk about some of those themes in this movie, because I feel there's three big characters in this movie, and I feel all three are going through very different things in their life.
Yes.
I don't know, Hedwig is a fantastic character to look at in this movie, but I'm also just as equally fascinated to look at Tommy, his ex-boyfriend, now uber rock star.
Oh, Tommy Gnosis?
Yes, who is every late 90s, early 2000s rock lead singer. And his struggle and what he's going through, because I think, and then who is the backup vocals for Hedwig's? What's that character? I never caught the character's name.
I can't think of their name right off the top of my head. Feels bad. If I were downstairs, I could grab it. But
yeah, Brian, can you look it up on IMDb? I think they are second build on IMDb. But anyway, looking at those three characters, because I feel those are the three characters that have the biggest arcs in this movie.
Yusek, the girl?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Yitzhak. Yitzhak.
Yitzhak.
Yitzhak.
Okay. So looking at Hedwig, Tommy, and Yitzhak, there is so much that you can relate. Like everyone can relate to those three at different points, even though at points all three are just dirtbags, but they're all three human. Like that's the biggest thing I take away from this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's rare that a movie allows characters to be kind of bastards, specifically when they are the main character, because to both Itzhak and Tommy, Hedwig's a bastard to both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so they are so self-absorbed in their own problems that they can't see what's going on outside of themselves. And the hurt that they are causing and the hurt that other people are going through. And I mean, Tommy is fascinating in the fact that he is just this normal kid that grew up and is very religious and can quote things, but doesn't really have a personality of his own. And Hedwig gives him that, but doesn't allow him to grow as a human being into what he should be. It's just another act. By putting the little ash on the forehead with the cross, it is just another wig that essentially Tommy's putting on.
I was just going to say, I'm like, that's his wig. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is Itzhak is probably out of the three main characters the most sure of themselves and what they want and what they desire. But a lot of that does involve the opposite of that, less finding out who they are, and there's such a strong resonance with Itzhak that they know who they are, that it's fun for them to be someone else. And it's weird how they deal with those themes and how it is mainly just the music that allows them. It's not dialogue so much that allows you to figure out their characters. It is how they are portrayed, the different looks that they have, moments of silence, strangely enough, that give each person a character. And I think the way that the film is shot is it has that rough around the edges, borderline 16 millimeter look to it, which surprised me because I thought that it was going to look worse on the Blu-ray that I have than it actually did, but it looks beautiful. But it has a very DIY feel to it and not the grand Rock of Ages, West Side Story feel that you have for most musicals.
But that benefits this movie a lot, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It never feels low budget though either. It is a low budget movie. It doesn't feel like that though.
No, and the music by Girls Against Boys is quite good. I don't think that there is a bum song in there. That was something where somewhere here I have the CD and I listened to that quite a bit. And John Cameron Mitchell never quite was able to shake this film because everything that he has done since, while some of it has been great, I think Short Bus is fantastic. This is still, he came out of the gate with a great film, and I don't think he'll probably ever top it. And that's always kind of a weird...
It's a weird place to be.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of artists have that, where they've built up their entire career to this point of the release of this thing, and they have so many years put into it that anything else after it is, well, this is 18 years of my life. This was 2. You know what I mean? It's, oh, this was 10 years of my life getting Hedwig made, and Short Bus was like 3. So, and Short Bus is interesting. It just isn't quite as interesting. There was, now I can't think of the name of it. There was a movie that came out a couple of years ago that he directed that was kind of fun too. Oh, why am I forgetting names of movies? But yeah, John Cameron Mitchell is an interesting person. He hosted some stuff on IFC for a while, which was really cool. He'd bring out different movies that were less in the mainstream, kind of had like a weird, less pencil mustachy John Waters vibe when he introduced movies. So that was kind of a cool show. But
yeah, I'm going to jump back on some of the things you talked about.
Sure.
One of the characters, Yitzhak, you said they were the most sure of themselves. But there is also the scenes where they're in bed with Hedwig and they scoot away as far as they can off the bed, away from her.
Right.
Very interesting stuff to look at that character. And what's going through their mind at that point. Because there's no dialogue again. It's all looks and the acting at that point. How do you read that scene there?
That is, to me, has always been a scene of wanting to connect with somebody, but realizing that they really only want the one thing. And it's not, it's the concept of the film, which is trying to find your other half. And that is when that portion really starts becoming a major theme in the film. And it's just realizing that, no, Hedwig doesn't want to know who they are as a human being. They just need someone there. And that's it. And I think Itzhak is sure enough in who they are to recognize that and just sort of feel kind of hurt by the fact that you don't want to know anything about me. You just want this warm body.
Yep. That's exactly how I read it too. And there's another big theme in this movie is that they talk a lot about the Berlin Wall, especially since Hedwig grew up in Germany. And that's a big part of many of the musical numbers. And I love how what that represents in this movie as well is that there's a literal wall in Berlin separating the two sides of the country of Germany. And then in this movie, it's always about finding you have your two sides. How do you find the common ground, the connective tissue that makes you you? And there's many symbols of it right there, being the one of Yitzhak and Hedwig in bed. There's literally a separation between the two. There's not a wall, but there's a separation between the two.
And if you look at their positions, if you think about the animation, Hedwig and Yitzhak are kind of in the same positions as the two animated figures that are trying to become whole too. So, there's that little bit too. There's a lot of not overwhelming symbolism, but enough to kind of get its point across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the use of all the visual styles in this movie. There's a point where it's just animation for at least 3-4 minutes of the movie. It's just straight animation. I love using that. And again, like you said, with the animation, with the two separate figures trying to become one at the end, and how that finally plays out in the finale. And yeah, I want to kind of talk about the finale without spoiling it if we can. I don't know how we're going to do that, but
Carefully, very, very carefully.
we'll tread light water.
I kind of focused on it a little bit without getting too specific as to what happens, but yep, every single time that I watch that scene, I end up uncontrollably sobbing. Is for me personally, it's just that reawakening is such a wonderfully the learning to care about other people and care about yourself finally just moves me to tears. But yeah, so let's talk about that. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we get it because that at the ending, I was like, you ever watch a movie, and I think this is a prime example where you watch an ending and I watched it by myself, and I'm like, I just need someone to talk to about this ending, just to fully comprehend what happened and explain like my emotions about it. And I have a very similar reaction to you, Corey, where it's like we follow Hedwig through this entire movie, and they're a very flamboyant character, but they're very much playing a character in this movie. And you finally get to that ending and the final musical number, and Hedwig is down to, there's no wig, there's no costuming.
Everything is white. Everything is as white as possible.
They're sweating profusely, like they're draining their body of whatever they were before. And you get to, I mean, we talked about it, where they're naked, where Hedwig is naked at the end and walking on his new path, or their new path. And there's just so much I loved about that. And then again, bringing up Yitzhak in that scene as well, what happens with that character is very interesting as well.
Yes. Well, because by giving up a portion of themselves, Hedwig has helped another human being become the person that they've wanted to be. And it's not so much the physicality that is initially thought of with the concept of the meaning of love. It's caring about other human beings and their wants and their needs and being aware of that. And it's finally an awakening of this person who has been so self-absorbed and so in a character that they have finally become a human being. And that is kind of, and it's not spelled out for anybody, but it's just through different little bits and pieces of how they deal with Tommy in the end, even if it's not real. How they deal with Yitzhak in the end, and then finally walking down an alleyway completely naked into whatever's coming next. And there you go.
Open to your interpretation. There's no
Exactly.
clear-cut ending to this.
No.
And I feel this is more than anything, this is just a human story, which is what I love about this movie. And again, looking at how the story concludes for the most part for Tommy and Yitzhak, and you look at that, and that's two versions of Hedwig, in which now he's neither because of the path he's now chosen to go on. And it feels like in the case of Tommy, Hedwig did not give Tommy the human decency to try to actually connect with him at any point in their relationship.
Exactly.
And that's something Hedwig also never got in any of his relationships. But then you look at the finale with Yitzhak and how Hedwig gives away her wig to Yitzhak, and they accept who they are. And I feel like their character arc Yitzhak's character arc is completed, while Hedwig's is just beginning on a new path.
Exactly. And I don't know. this movie it works when you try to scrutinize it, but I know that sometimes I can get a little overzealous in talking about how you should just watch a movie and allow a movie to become part of you for a moment, and it allows you to empathize with other people that are going through different things. And that's how I watch a lot of movies. It's the reason that this one hits me so hard. It's the reason that Do the Right Thing hits me so hard, is you just allow it to become one with you for however long it lasts. I mean, you're not going to do that with a Transformers movie. You're not going to do that with, even though I used the phrase at some point in time about Guns Akimbo, but that's a different thing. You're not feeling anything. It's more of just the experience of it.
Yes.
But with this, it is just opening yourself up and allowing yourself to become one with what they're talking about. And like I said, there's a lot of symbolism in there, but we're not talking, David Lynch style symbolism. It's not, hammer on the head, but it's there, but it's easy to kind of grasp what they're trying to do, except maybe the ending. And the ending is kind of like you were talking about. It's left open so that you can personally choose to interpret it the way that you want and the way that makes you feel like you were a part of the story.
Yes. And Hedwig almost in that case becomes like an avatar for you and how you go from out after watching this movie.
Right.
And like what you mentioned with like how you watch like Do the Right Thing. The last movie I had where I had a reaction like this was for Moonlight. Like that's a movie like
Yes.
I'm a straight white guy from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I don't necessarily relate to specifics of what's happening in Moonlight, but because of the human story, I relate to everything happening in Moonlight.
Exactly.
And this is the exact same thing.
Uh-huh. And I think that is a negative and it's not a negative of every person that watches. Most people that watch movies just want to be entertained, and I'm cool with that. That's fine. You go watch your movies, that's cool. But
this has that too. This is a very entertaining movie, yeah.
But this is also not everybody's kind of movie.
Yeah.
No. But if you open yourself up to something that may not even be, I mean, look at something like, you can sit and watch a teen movie and enjoy the teen movie, but not be a teenager yourself. Mm-hmm. You can at least, and that's a different thing, but you can at least kind of put yourself in I can kind of relate to that.
I used to be like that, yeah.
Right. And with this, those are specifics that they make the person who they are, but it's the human part of them that I relate to. Mm-hmm. And it, going through high school and junior high, I was the weird kid, and I got a group of friends when I was like a junior in high school that I could kind of pal around with because they were also kind of weird kids, and they were really into theater and or journalism. But
boy, I can't think of a couple of those off the top of my head there, Corey.
No, not yet.
Some names come to mind. I'll leave them to my imagination.
Oh yeah. But you just kind of, and I think everybody feels like sometimes they're a little bit left out and stuff like that. So movies like Moonlight can kind of, you always feel weird, and you can put yourself in the shoes of that character, even though you might not 100% be that character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree. That's exactly how I felt. Corey, there was another movie. I don't know if you wanted to bring it up. I want to hear what this connection is to another movie. I will let you take over for now.
Okay. Did either one of you end up getting to see it?
I had not. No, it was not
What-
available to watch anywhere. It was a hard movie to find.
I must have missed this here because I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay. There is, and this is because I wanted to throw some strange little, because I thought that this was like the big mainstream movie, so I wanted to throw some strange little weird 70s film in there just for fun.
Oh, that one.
And this is a movie called Pink Angels. It's a satire of the biker gang genre that was kind of going on in the late 60s, early 70s, the Easy Rider type of thing.
Yeah.
And it is a movie that you have to go into it with the right frame of mind. It is not a film that is terribly, it cares about its characters. It really seems to, but it doesn't use modern day terminology, and sometimes it seems a little confused as to, who a drag queen is, who a homosexual is. But it is a movie about a group of guys that pretend to be Hell's Angels, or they might actually be Hell's Angels. It's never really specifically mentioned. And they are traveling down the coast in order to see a drag show in LA. And it is basically just kind of like Easy Rider. It just goes from scenario to scenario, and some of those scenarios are meant to kind of make fun of the masculinity at the time. There's an entire sequence where they go and meet a group of gentlemen who are also bikers, but super manly. We got to go get our girls type of bikers, and how they interact with them. And then in the end, it is a film that it's very similar to this. It just kind of goes on its own little flow, but there is a character in it that is this sheriff, police chief. It's never really 100% stated. They're kind of following around the other biker gang, but there's a lot of Nazi imagery with this character, and he ends up capturing them in the end. And when he finds out that they are men dressed as women, he hangs them all in front of the house.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So it is, I don't know quite, it is a movie that I have this entire box set that is called Driving Cult Classics, and it has a lot of American International Pictures and a lot of stuff that is essentially public domain or borderline. And this is one that always kind of, oh, well, I should probably watch that one of these days. And the day that I watched it, it is just one of the weirder experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. And it fits the theme of Hedwig in the fact that it is about people that don't really feel like they're a part of the thing that they're pretending to be. But then it has such a shocking ending that it just sticks with you. Because it's fun. It's kind of a fun little movie about, this biker gang going down the coast and running into different people and getting offered drugs. And it's basically just a less heterosexual version of Easy Rider, but, without the political fist waving. But then you get to the end and realize, oh no, this is actually even more political. Yep. Okay. They're all dead. Yeah, that's the reason I wanted to bring it up, because it's such a weird movie that I think if you are in the right frame of mind, I would highly recommend watching it if you want to see that how this type of film was handled in the 70s, back when, you know,
It was a different time. It was a different time.
Stuff was not one. Oh, and also it was co-written by the guy who played Grizzly Adams.
So it sounds like what we need to do is we need to have like a book club thing, and we just one person watches it, handed it to the next person, let them watch it, and continue so we can get it back to you.
I have 2 copies of it if you need it.
It'll go around the group faster.
Uh-huh. And it's just a strange little movie. I don't highly recommend people watch it, but it is an experience, especially considering, you know, you deal with something like Pink Angels. You know, that was in 72. This was in 2001. And what was Perks of Being a Wallflower?
2012.
Yeah.
2012. Okay. And you can see, you know, maybe someone could bring on like Torch Song Trilogy, you know, try and watch that and see, or Longtime Companion, and see how attitudes towards homosexuals have changed or waned, or just their representation in movies. And it's fascinating to me that really something that is that recent, in my opinion, is not quite sure how to deal with the subject, but still wants to deal with the subject, but also knows that the audience isn't quite ready to deal with the subject, but they're never mocking the characters. They mock everyone else. And so it is weirdly heartfelt, but it also is a little bit, I hate using this term because it became very prevalent on the internet back when like Leafy is Here and those guys were doing stuff on YouTube, but it's very cringy how some of it is handled. But I think that it is, if my rambling has proven anything, if you want to try something different and you want to see how films have progressed, give this one a shot. It's very interesting without going into the, you know, pre-code or even the hidden stuff in the code era of movies. Just to see kind of how things, and also, by the way, if you haven't seen Torch Song Trilogy or Longtime Companion, they're both fantastic movies. Torch Song Trilogy has Harvey Fierstein in it. How can you not love Harvey Fierstein?
You can't.
I know.
Yeah. So that was, what's the name of the Pink Angels?
It's called Pink Angels. I think it is on Amazon. I'm not entirely certain. But
not that I last saw. I mean, not
okay.
outside of like Prime anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm sure that you could probably find a copy of it somewhere, or
if not, knock on Corey's door and he'll.
Yep, he's got 2 copies.
Yes, I do.
All right, let's wrap up our conversation on Hedwig and the Angry Inch with our final thoughts on the movie. Brian, I'll throw it off to you. What are your final thoughts on Hedwig and the Angry Inch?
I would say is that being that, you know, it falls under that rock opera mixed with a little dark comedy. No matter who you are, this is going to be one of those films that's going to be it's an art piece. It's that whole kind of aspect of it, of you just need to experience the film. Just go in it with an open mind and knowing that one person who watches it might not experience it the same way another person watches it. I mean, again, it's a good movie. It's wildly strange. I was actually excited to see Michael Pitt in it. You know, for me, he is one of those guys that I don't think gets the love he probably deserves and gets some of these lesser roles. But I think he chooses his roles appropriately. And having him as Tommy, I think, was fantastic. I saw his name on it. I was like, all right, you've got me hooked at that, because then, at that point that was the only name I knew. But I was like, okay, I'm good.
And I can't think of the name of the movie, but it's Last Something. It was a thinly veiled film about Kurt Cobain, starring Michael Pitt, directed by Gus Van Sant. That is also, as long as you're into long shots, Brown Bunny style of not a lot of things happening, it's a worthwhile movie if you like Michael Pitt.
Last Days.
Last Days. That's it. Yep.
Yes. And man, that's just it. It's again, it is one of those ones that it's like an art piece, or better yet, like like an art exhibit, an installation kind of thing, where you're gonna go
Right.
into experience all this here, and every single person is gonna come out differently with this.
Oh, exactly.
Corey, what about you? Final thoughts on Hedwig?
For a person who was in their 20s when this movie came out, it was a life-changing experience for a person who didn't quite know who they were. And it helped me through some issues that I had at the time to kind of be the person that I am right now. I think it's a beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a heartbreaking film. I think it's a hilarious film. It is sometimes all of those things at once. It is dreamlike. It is also very realistic. It is Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Everything Corey said.
Yes.
Yep.
That is my final thoughts on it. Yeah. It is available on streaming right now to rent, and that's how I watched it. So it's pretty easy to find. So if you have not watched the film yet, I highly recommend renting it. It's a good movie night movie. It's a good movie to watch and sit by yourself and contemplate after. It's so many different things. So again, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, highly recommend.
Real quick here, Casey, I'll just throw this out there for those that decided to subscribe to HBO Max. That's where you can find it as well.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
That is where I found it. That's where I had the opportunity to watch it.
Awesome.
Very cool. Corey, thank you for doing this with us, and
thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for introducing us to this movie.
Seriously.
I love this movie. I don't think I probably would have ever watched it if you had not brought it up today. So
right.
Thank you.
Honestly, Casey, I see that's one thing I've actually enjoyed about the way we've decided to do these film series, because you always wonder, like, well, what movie do I want to watch today or something like that. Now we kind of have this thing of like we're being introduced to these films from other people that we're like, I agree with you. I don't think I would have probably picked this up anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to watch this again. I've been listening to the soundtrack like on repeat since I watched it this past weekend. So yes, Corey.
Yes.
Where can people find you and all your movie ramblings online?
I am on Instagram at Somewhat Random Movie Collection. You just need to either type that in, or Corey Jacobson usually pops it up too, if that's way too long for you to type in. So
yeah, find Corey on the gram.
On the gram.
Yes.
On the gram. Corey, thank you again. Brian, what about you? Where do you want people to follow your online doings?
Well, if I can get around to actually getting some updated stuff, because I've been lazy with it, in my Instagram of LP Freak, and then my Letterboxd of LP Freak Forever.
Cool.
Yeah, and you can find me. I'm on Letterboxd now. That's where I'm going to put all my movie ramblings. I love
Good idea.
Letterboxd. Casey Calderman. Just find me there. And you can also follow us on backlot605.com for our latest movie news, reviews, articles. Our discussions are all on there. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and YouTube. And join us three all on the South Dakota Film Community page on Facebook and have a conversation there. Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it, brother. I don't know why it felt like Hulk Hogan needed to come out there.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's right. Next week, though, we have a friend of the show, a friend of Corey's on the show,
Yes.
Mr. Jake Martin, to talk about Mysterious Skin. Corey, this was one of the movies you had also thought of.
Yeah.
I've not watched the film. I'm very excited to check this one out too.
I was actually contemplating at one point in time before I found out that he was going to have Mysterious Skin on here, that I was actually just going to bring up almost the entire filmography of Greg Araki, because his movies are, oh boy, this is probably his most normal, and it is also his hardest to watch. So I'm just preparing you. I think
forward
that
to it.
it is an amazing film. The subject matter that it deals with is very hard to handle, but it's also very funny. If you're looking for more Greg Araki movies after that, go for Smiley Face, go for The Doom Generation, go for Nowhere. There's one that, since we've kind of kept it a little bit PG-13, I'm not going to, it's called Totally Effed Up, or The Living End. All of his movies are good. Go check them out.
So that's next week. Jake Martin will join us for Mysterious Skin. But again, Corey, thank you for joining us. We're going to have you back sooner than 6 months from now.
Well, exactly.
I like that idea.
Yeah. We'll definitely do that, Corey. Thank you again. And anyway, for us on Backlot 605, thank you all for listening, and we'll check you out next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.
Peace.